All right. Now, I actually just made another battery video about this new iPhone. And, it was kind of lengthy. So I wanted to kind of separate this one out because this one is a little different. In addition to telling you to subscribe, I'd like to tell you about today's sponsor, Minute Rice. Now, I'm going to have absolutely zero B-roll of me putting one of these in the microwave and showing you how to cook Minute Rice. But I would tell you that these little packages save a lot of time. Now, for those of you who have ample amounts of time, but just simply don't feel like watching rice boil in a pot, something like this works. You take one of these little cups out, pop it in the microwave for 1 minute, and you're good to go. I've been eating these now for about 2.5 weeks, and I really, really enjoy them. You have your regular white rice, you have your brown rice, you have jasmine, you have wild rice. I think there's a brown rice and wild rice combination, and basmati. I might have missed one, but they're all pretty good. And for between 75 cents and $1 per serving, I think it's something you should consider. So like, subscribe, comment on the video, and consider purchasing some Minute Rice. That other one was just, hey, we don't know how it's going to be, but at the same time, you can kind of see previous trends, so we'll see what happens. But here, and when I watch Marques Brownlee's stuff as well, I always enjoy most of it, but sometimes I feel like there needs to be some type of scrutiny. And in this case, for somebody else who also has almost 20 million subscribers, I know they do their research. I do. But at the same time, sometimes things get omitted. And if I, catch it, then I, want to just make sure that I am able to at least share the true information to the 10 people that are going to watch this video. So here we have Aaron, I believe is his name, his real name. He's talking about previous iPhone batteries. So let's listen to what he has to say briefly, and then I got some stuff that I want to include.
If you start with more battery than you need, then you don't care even when it degrades. Time for Instagram. Let's do some planned, spontaneous doom scrolling. So yeah, the last time that Apple properly upgraded the batteries on their phones was between the iPhone 12s and the iPhone 13s. And even though that wasn't a massive year of other changes, battery is so important that I would say that one change alone made the iPhone 13 stand out as a good time to upgrade.
All right, now, again, 20 million subscribers almost. I need you to do all the research because at this particular point in time when I chose to screen grab his video, over 2 million views. So he's given Apple credit for upgrading the battery between the 12 and the 13. And the reason I knew that there was something wrong with that statement was because, I have my little my little video talking about battery life on the iPhone that was me just showing some Excel charts and saying, hey, these aren't good. Why do you continue to buy them and then expect them to change, but you keep buying them so they won't change? So again, he's saying that the battery life between the 12 and 13 was substantial. And the reason I have an issue with that is because here. So we can look at whether it's the Pros or the regular 11, 12, 13. Let's, from left to right, 11 Pro, 12 Pro, 13 Pro. Okay, let's scroll down to the battery. Battery section is right here. So for the 11 Pro, 3046. Okay, I mean, that really doesn't mean much, and that's not the point of this video, is for you to, let's actually figure out what that actually means in terms of use case. But 3046. For the 12, 2815. It got smaller. Okay, the battery from the 11 to the 12 got smaller. And then from the 12 to the 13, it got bigger. So he's giving Apple credit for this change in capacity, but you really need to look at the change in capacity between the 11 and the 13. That's not much of an increase. I did the math in the other video, 1% or so, I don't know, something tiny. So don't do that. Look at more than just, it got bigger year over year, but year over year over year, it did not really get that much larger. And the same thing holds true if you look just at the regular one. So again, left to right, we have 11, 12, 13. Let's scroll down. You have 3110, then down to 2815, and then up to 3240. But that change between the 11 and 13 was actually larger than the change between the 11 Pro and the 13 Pro. But you still need to look in the middle. That for the 12, it got smaller. Okay, but the other thing that I wanted to bring up, though, and I mentioned this in my previous video from almost a year ago, and then the video that I just made a couple minutes ago, is that the batteries in the non-Pros are actually larger. So for the 11, we have 3110, but for the 11 Pro, we have 3046. Now for the 12s, they were actually the same, which I would still disagree with that being the way that it should be. I feel like the Pro should be larger. But then for the 13 Pro, 3095, and then for the regular one, 3240. So once again, it's, hey, you're paying more money for this quote-unquote Pro device. However, they're literally putting a smaller battery in the phone, a lower capacity battery. I don't care for the newer ones if, oh, well, these screens are able to adjust their refresh rate, so battery consumption should be lower. It's BS, man, and don't give them a pass on any of that stuff. So you're paying more money. Literally everything about this phone should be better, however you want to define it. But if you are saying that the battery is smaller, that is just flat out worse. And the reason I have these other tabs up, just to, also with the 15 and the 15 Pros, I think I skipped the 14s. I didn't really care. But same thing here with the battery. Where are we at? I see charging type. Okay, battery. So in the Pro, it's 3274. In the regular, it's 3349. Again, why is the battery larger in the non-Pro device? And since Apple doesn't just openly publish their battery capacities here for the 16, we don't have anything yet. We know that it's lithium ion and it's non-removable, but I'd say give it a day or two. Somebody's going to buy one and open it, publish it, and then we'll be able to see exactly the actual capacity for the 16 series of iPhones. Now, there is one more thing that I wanted to point out, because again, it's like, hey, let's, we make mistakes, cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have a team behind you, I would hope that they would catch you. So the first mistake, I believe, is, hey, yes, technically the battery the battery capacity between the 12 and the 13s did increase, which was the point of this whole rant that I just went on. But if we go back to the 11, the battery between the 11 and the 13 really didn't change that much, especially with the Pros. All right, but there's one more thing that Aaron said that I just wanted to comment on. Just again, when you have a whole team, we can catch this.
The point being that even though the iPhone 16s feel like a smaller, more incremental update to the iPhone 15s, if the battery improvements are actually big, then that alone would be enough to put them on the map. So,
and actually, before we actually go to that, there's a reason. I had to keep these tabs open for a reason. These two don't matter. But this one, yes, this is the one that I wanted to show. So here, and I'm not going to click play, and I know it just kind of faded in a little bit, but they're just big boost in battery life. Is that a result of a higher capacity battery, or is that just a more efficient chip? The fact that that's what they're touting, even though, if you made it this far, 8 minutes into this video, it's like these are choices that they are making to not just put in what the industry, it's not an industry standard, but there are plenty of other companies that just put in higher capacity batteries. It's like, hey, why not? I don't know how much more it would cost Apple. But yeah, 4,000, boom, across the board. 5,000 in the Pros, 4,000 in the non-Pros, boom, easy. But no, so we'll see what big boost in battery life actually means. And I'm going to assume, because other YouTubers have pointed out, that the process node for the A17, and I think also the MacBook Pro or the MacBooks with the M3 chips, was TSMC's 3 nanometer or something, something that was kind of into life when it was created. So now they're like, oh, actually, we are going to do this, A18 on a different process node. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And with that improvement, that alone might just be enough to increase battery life. So it's not saying bigger battery, it's saying boost in battery life. So there might be a slightly larger battery, but we'll see what happens. Okay. Now I'll probably come back to this later. It was funny. Somebody pointed out that the changes between the 15 and the 16s were so small that they had to put USB-C on this little placemat, even though USB-C came out or was introduced, I'll say, to the iPhone 15 last year. So no reason to include it this year, but there wasn't enough to fill up the little placemat here. All right, back to Mr. Who's the Boss.
The Opera browser for free. So after about 10 minutes of charging, these are the percentages. 22%, 22%, 22%, 21%. Whoa, so basically every iPhone 16 has the same charging speed.
Okay, so I'd like to say that's not true. Because the battery capacities are different. So they aren't charging at the same rate if the battery capacities are different. So 22% of a bigger phone is going to be more than 22% of a higher capacity battery is going to be more than 22% of a lower capacity battery. So the fact that the Pro and the Pro Max are both at 22% after, I think you said 10 minutes of charging, means that the Pro Max is charging faster. Unless the batteries are the same size, which would be amazingly expected, but also amazingly disappointed in the event that the Pro Max and the Pro have the same size battery, which should not be the case. But just going to what he's saying, 22% of a high capacity battery, more juice has been given to that battery than 22% of a smaller battery. And the last thing that he mentions,
got 19% on the 15 Pro Max and then 22 again. So the Pro Max iPhone last year was a tiny bit slower. 17. Bear in mind, this phone can charge a little faster if you specifically use Samsung's own 45-watt power brick and cable.
And also remember, the battery capacity in that phone is larger than the capacities of all the other devices. So yes, it only says 17%. However, that 17% of that larger number, I think it's 5,000 compared to whatever in the iPhones, is more and will probably last longer, especially as a result of his video rundown or his phone battery life rundown. So that's when you need to not, the number is bigger or the number is the same, so that means everything about it is the same. No, absolutely not. I think the only thing that he might be saying correctly is that, if you buy Samsung's definitely their proprietary charger if they sell one, but there's also other power delivery blah 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 that will probably allow you to fast charge to its full extent or full capability as well. So again, beginning he said, the battery size increase between the 12 and the 13 was substantial. Only because from the 11 to the 12, the battery capacity went down. So let's look at the battery capacities between the 11 and the 13. Not really that big of a change. And then here, him saying, all these phones are charging at the same rate. Only true if the battery capacities are the same. All right, that's all. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. But when you have almost 20 million subscribers and a team behind you, and I know he doesn't have a ginormous team, somebody needs to be like, no, actually, that's not a true statement. So, cool.